We will start with the same point where our last discussion has ended. We were talking about the static and the non-static data members in the last session. Let me open up the first dot Java file. Okay, some spelling mistake. Notepad first dot Java file. So exactly, this was a program that we have seen in the last session. Now we want to explore more about such what we can say, the effect of strict OP and what happens with the output and what with the variable scope and all. So that will be the agenda for today's lecture. So I'm going to use the same code and I'm going to modify it a bit. So let me add one method. Let me call this method as static void data. Fine. So my method is static. It's not returning anything, and the name of the method is data. Then let me delete these all things. Okay, so we will have one k variable, and I'll initialize this variable to 1. So setup is simple. We have one k variable in the main method, and which is initialized to 1. Here I'll say k plus plus in the data method. Now let's pass this k variable to the method data. First dot data into bracket will pass k, and now we will, after the method, so before, and we have passed the object. Now we will print this k variable on the screen. So initially k is equal to 1, then we called data method, and then we are printing the k variable on the screen. So quick responses in the chat box. What will be the output? So output is 2. Most of the people are saying the output is going to come as 2. So Abhishek, Sanket, Sonali and Parth have given the answer as it is going to be 2, and Rajvardhan is saying the answer is going to be 1. Aditya, Vella, Divya, so these people are saying the answer is going to be 1. Okay, Chitij is also saying 1. So let's check what is going to be the output. I will go with the answer as 1 for this particular program, and then we have to explore the reason. So Java C first dot Java, let me compile. So it should compile, and then let's execute Java first. So answer becomes 1. So this is the common pain while writing the program, and people, these are the common mistakes, logical mistakes that the programmers commit while writing the logic, and the expected behavior from the program is something different, and the program actually does something different. So let's see why the output is going to be 1 and not as 2. So this is about the scope of the variable. So what has happened in this case is this k, which is declared in the main method, is very limited to the scope of the opening bracket of the main method to the closing bracket of the main method. When we called first dot data method and when we passed here k, that time the value has been copied. So k's value get copied inside this bracket value. So what is the value of k? 1. So here k is actually a formal parameter representing just the, what we can say, the value that we are passing, and that value get copied in this key which is present in the data method. So the method data, which is saying k, and this call, these two k variables are completely different. So this k belongs to the main method and this k belongs to the method data, right? So when you increase k plus plus, altogether there is a different stack memory for the method data. In that memory there is a variable called as k, which is initialized to 1. This k gets incremented and it sets to 2. But when the data method call ends and when you return back to the main method, that time the original k from the main method gets restored and the k still have value as 1. So when you say system.out.println, the k become k is still 1. So is it is it clear to everyone who gave the answer as to why the program is going to return as 1, or shall I explain in more detail? Yes, okay. Anyone have a doubt, or you everyone is it is clear that why the output is going to be 1? So I guess there are 2 responses saying yes. So fine, let me ask. Sonali, is it clear to you or you have a doubt? Your answer was 2. Now, Sonali, yes, yes, okay, fine. So answer is fine. So almost everyone is clear with why the output is going to become as 1. Now, let me change one, or let me remove some more thing, or there is one answer saying that no return type and scope. By the answer is given by Abhishek. Abhishek is saying that we are not having any return type and scope. These two things will make the value of k is equal to 1 in the main method. So we are going to change one more thing, or we will modify this program a bit. Let's do it. So I will, okay, let's keep it as it is. So in Java, if I want to create an array, we will apply this style. So what this style means is, we want to create an array. We want to create an array of type integer. So integer is a data type, and we tell precisely that we are interested in creating an array. This is also fine if you do it like this. This is also fine, but Java prefers the first style. What this style says is, we want to create an integer variable whose name is k, and the variable is of type array. This is how this line is getting read, and the above line is getting read as, we are going to create an integer type array whose name is k. So preferably the first style shall be used while writing the program. Second thing, the array gets a memory on the heap. So array is a what we can say, array. In the case of C++, we were allowed to create an array on the stack memory, or it is possible to create the array on the stack. In the case of Java, quite regularly, the array variable will always go on heap memory. And we know that if I want to create a memory on a heap, I shall use keyword new while allocating a memory. So I'll say new, and I'll say again type int, and I'll specify the size. I'll say 1. Right, I need 1 memory for the array k. You can also apply a shortcut by saying k is equal to 1. This will also create, these two lines are very same. The difference is it creates a 1 block of a memory, and it also creates a 1 block of memory. Also, it initializes that 1 block with value 1. Whereas this block is not yet initialized. We have one variable, but it is not yet initialized. So I'll go with the first style, and I'll say k. Now the first block of course starts with 0 in the case of array. I'll say 1. Now I'm passing k in the first dot data. Now we have to modify the definition of a k data method also. Now we are accepting array, so I should make k as look like an array. And here I'll say k of 0 plus plus. I'll write like this. So instead of k, now k is an array. So we are incrementing particular variable inside the array. And now while printing, what does int 1 state? Abhishek Joshi is asking me, what does int 1 state? It is the size of the array. What will be the size of the array? So I want to create an array size of 1. Fine. So I rushed into this. I should have slowed down a bit. I'll repeat my session. Okay, clear, sir. Okay, Abhishek, I've understood. Still, I'll repeat a bit. When we create an array in Java, like this, let's apply the C++ style or C style. Now we know that this is going to create an array of size 1, right? Or if I say like this, integer a 10, this is going to create an array of size 10, and whose data type is integer. There is another way of creating the same story by writing like this. Now this third line is also creating an array of size 1, whose block, or the k of 0, is initialized with value 22. If I go on adding the numbers, now a is of size 2. First block, which is 0, is initialized to 22, and second block, which is a of 1 is initialized to 11. That's how we create an array in C++. So this style is possible in Java also. It is possible in Java. first tile is not possible in Java. So now this statement allocates a one memory for the array. If you want to create array of size 2 locations, then you should type 2 here. If you want to create array of size 10, you should type 10 here. What this means is k is an array created on a heap memory and the size of the array is 10. That means you are allowed to store 10 numbers inside it. So right now I'm interested in storing only one number, so my array size become 1. And now we know that array indexes start with 0. So this one memory, first memory, will be accessible using k of 0. So I'm saying k of 0 is equal to 1. So the array is initialized. Then we are passing the array to the method. And then I am going to print k of 0 on screen. Now in this case, what is the expected output? What do you think? What will be the output of this program? Quick answers on the chat window. Quick answers in the chat window. Two, Aditya and Prathamesh is saying that the answer is going to be 2. What about other people? Bhagyesh is saying it's going to be 1. Then Kshitij is saying 1. Shailesh, Amruta, Aditi, these people are saying 1. Zaveria is also saying 1. Any other answers? So see, again, I have a combination of answers, which is 1 and 2. So again, we need to explain this concept. So okay, I'll go with the answer as 2. Okay, I'll go with the answer as 2. Let's save this and see, the answer becomes 2. Now let's understand what has happened. See, in C, when you were introduced with the array, it was for this statement you may have heard, I guess now thousands of time, at least thousands of time you must have heard this word that array is a pointer variable. Okay, Abhishek is saying now the address of the array is passed as an argument, right, Abhishek? So you have heard this word or this line thousands of times that the array variable is a pointer variable. Now what the pointer variable stores? The pointer variable stores address inside it. So this k actually holds the address of the memory where the actual memories have been allocated. Starting address of the memory in the computer's memory. So this k actually have the address of the first block of the array. Now what we have done is we have initialized the first block to 1. When you pass the k to the method, that time you are passing variable k and not k of 0. The k of 0 is the value and this k of 0 would have passed the value and this k will pass the address, right? So when you pass the address, the k of the main method and the k in the data method are pointing to same memory, because what you are passing here, you are passing key. What is key? K is an address variable or a reference variable. So you are passing address inside this. So both data method and the main method are referring to same address. Now what you are doing in the data method is k of 0 plus plus. So it increases the 0th location of the same memory. So when you come back to the main method and you print k of 0, this k of 0 and this k of 0 is very same. So that's why the output is 2. Okay, there is something going on in the chat box. Address of array is passed as an argument is been commented by Abhishek Joshi. So the Bhagyesh is saying, so it is called by reference and the answer given by 2 people is yes. Okay, this was interesting. Got it? So everybody is clear? To be very precise, there was nothing called as reference in the terms of C. We are seeing references in the terms of Java. So this is truly a reference call. So if time permits, we will, okay, the point will soon come when we have to discuss about what is the difference in a reference and an address. Till that time, we will assume that this is a reference passing. Better to call it as a reference, not an address. There is a difference in reference and address. So we'll see what is the difference in passing a reference and passing an address. But this is, you are passing a reference of key. So same memory is being utilized by key in the main method as well as in the method data. So that's why the output is going to come as 2. With this understanding, we'll add more to our program. So let's modify some more things in the program. Now, let me take as integer public first. I'll say integer k, fine, and I'll come back to the main method. Let's remove everything. Now the main method is going to be an empty method. So what we have in our program is we have a first integer k, and then we have this is the constructor, and then we have a main method. Let's create an object first, object new first, right? And in the constructor, I'll write a statement, the system.out.println, and we'll say this is what we can say, int constructor. So what do you think? What will be the output of the program? I need quick answers in the chat box. Error, the return type. Okay, so the return type is by Abhishek, and the error is by Ms. Sujata. Then Aditya is also saying error. Then Bhagyesh is also saying error. Abhishek, can you tell me what do you mean by return type? For which part you are asking me a return type? Mr. Abhishek Joshi, can you write about what is?
Sir, parameterized constructor.
Abhishek, you spoke?
Yeah, sir.
So parameterized constructor return type. So you mean I should type a return type here?
Yes.
Like this?
Void.
Void. Okay, fine. So so I have to change my question again. So error is the correct answer because of this return type. No, that's not a point. Okay, fine. So there is no return type for the constructor. Constructor are the special methods which do not have return type. Constructors are the special methods or special functions in programming of OOP which do not have any return type, but they do return something. Now we will come to this point. Parameter caused the error. Kshitij Sagre is asking a question. Parameter caused the error, right? So parameter caused the error. Let me no error. Abhishek Joshi saying then no error will come. Oh, sorry, I just minimize the screen. Let me go to the command prompt. Let me compile. Oh, sorry. Java C shall be the compiler, and then the first dot Java should be the line. And see the error. Constructor first in the class cannot be applied to given type. So what you are doing is you are trying to create an object, and look at the error now. What error says is there is a required something. Required is integer and found no arguments. So what it means that the arrow points the line where the error has occurred. So this line has created an error. So why this line has created error? The reason is given in the information. The information is you require an integer and found no argument. So it means that you have to pass an argument while creating an object, right? So I have to pass one here, and this call will be fine. Now if I compile, so it compiles fine. Let me remove this. So now if we try to compile, so again Abhishek Joshi is saying, sir, but by default it will call default constructor. So that's the point I wanted to make clear here. So that's the point we are addressing. So now let me remove this. Now default constructor we are writing, and now if I try to compile, so it compiles. Now if I execute Java C, and if I say first, and now if I hit enter, you will, sorry, I have made a mistake. Java, so I should say Java, not Java C. Compilation is complete. This is int constructor. That is the line we have written inside the constructor. So I should write here, this is default constructor. This is a default constructor, and then I should compile one more time. Java C first dot Java. Let's clear the screen and say Java first. This is what we want to execute, and this is a default constructor is output. So many people do not get the line. What OOP says is the programming environment provides default constructor only if is the line that has to be marked punchline. The default constructor is provided only if you do not write your own constructor. As soon as the programmer writes his or her own constructor in the program, from that moment onwards, the programming environment do not provide default constructor. So what happened in the earlier cases, when we added our own constructor like this, public first int k, so you have added your own constructor in the program, which is a constructor with integer argument. This is an int constructor. So you have voided the rule. The rule is what? Now, as a programmer, that is me, is adding my own constructor, the environment is no longer going to provide or take a responsibility of providing default constructor. So as there is no default constructor in the program, what I am trying to do in the main method is I am trying to create the object by calling a default constructor. But there is no presence of a default constructor in our program now. If I remove this, now even if I am not writing the default constructor, programming environment is going to take a responsibility. What programming environment says is, as programmer is not writing any constructor in the class, let's provide a default constructor. So as soon as this responsibility is taken by the environment, this call becomes successful because it is going to find a default constructor which is provided by the environment. After this, if we do it like this, now we are adding our own constructor. Now what programming environment says that the programmer has added his own constructor in the code. So let's not provide any constructor to the programmer. And what programmer is doing in the main method? Programmer is trying to create an object by calling a default constructor. But right now, there is no default constructor present in the program. So it's going to hit error. Error is you are trying to call a default constructor, but that is not present. So that's the error. Is it clear, Abhishek and everyone, why the error come? Okay, got it, sir. Great. Rajvardhan is saying, okay, fine. Good. So most of the people have got the concept. I guess there is no doubt on this in any of the concept. Right. So let's tweak a bit more with the method. Right. So what we are going to do is, okay, fine. If I pass 1 here, it will compile and all blah, blah, blah. Let me do this public first, 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 and I'll write here system.println. I'll write this is default constructor. This is the int constructor, and first object new first. First. So what do you think? It will work or not? Now this program will compile, will execute or not? Quick answers in the chat window. It will execute. Great, guys. So it is just like we are allowed to have as many constructors as we want in the program. We can have different flavors of the constructor. Now we are providing both constructors, parameterized constructor as well as a default constructor. So this program is going to execute and we are going to see the output on the screen. So let's proceed. What we will do is, now we have a class which have a main method. Then let me do it like this. Let me put a method public, let's say int k, public int k, and I'm not going to pass any argument to this method. Here I'll say int value, which is initialized to 1, which is initialized to 1. We have a method k, and here I'll say return k. Sorry, return not k, return, let me say value. Let's give a good name to the method. Let's say return value is the method name. Is this code okay or there is a problem? What do you think? Is this code okay or there is a problem? Okay, good. Okay. Anyone have any doubt on this? Is it okay or not? I've got only 2 answers. I need more answers in chat window if it's not okay. Okay. So Rajvardhan, can you write a bit why it's not okay? Rajvardhan, can you write a bit more information what is not okay, or you can unmute yourself and ask me the or tell me information what you are saying. Rajvardhan is saying nothing in main method. Okay, that's fine. So ignore this. If there is nothing inside a main method, that's fine. So it's going to compile or not? Rajvardhan, it's going to compile or not? What do you think? It will not compile is the answer by Rajvardhan. Okay. Bhagesh, it will not compile. Bhagesh, can you give me your reason why it is not going to compile? You can unmute yourself, Bhagesh, and then give me. Not sir, no sir. It will compile, but nothing in output. Okay, right. So it's going to compile, guys. So there is no problem in this program. It's going to compile, but if we run it, there is nothing in the main method. So though absolutely there will be no output. There will be no output. So the point that I wanted to make is this data member can be returned using a method member of a class, right? This data member can be returned using the method member of a class. No, sir, it will compile, but nothing. Okay, fine. Oh, got it now. Is the answer from Rajvardhan. Okay, fine. So a method is just a member of a class. So this is also a member of a class, and this method is also a member of a class, right? And the members of a class have access of each other. Like even if you make a member a private or a protect or a public, when you are inside a class, each member of a class have access to other members of a class. So if we follow that philosophy, the return value method do have access to the value variable of a class, and it can return it. It can return it. So that's the point I wanted to make clear. Now we are all set to add more things in the program. So again, some basic building blocks. I am sure you are able to recall this from the earlier session. Dot out dot. What we are doing is just we are setting up some ground rules before actually starting with some other code. This is going to be error, right? Everyone knows this. From the earlier session, we have discussed this, right? It's an error. Why? Because k is not initialized and Java is a strict OOP. So this is going to give an error, and we know how to resolve this error is either initialize this k or do not use the k unless and until it is initialized. There are two options, right? Now, if we follow the same philosophy, and if I put a k variable in the class, and now I say first, if I are first, and then I'll create an object, and we know that now k is a non-static member of a class, so I should access the k using object. Now, if I do this, what do you think? What will happen? It's error or it's going to work? If you apply C++ philosophy, it's fine. But whatever we have discussed in Java, what do you think? It's going to be it's going to work or it's going to give error? Quick responses in the chat window are expected. Oh, it's taking too long time. Am I audible or something wrong? Okay. Object not initialized is the answer from Rajvardhan. Error. So, okay. So, guys, this is the correct answer. It's an error because object is not initialized and you can't access anything. You can't access anything without creating the object. Fine. The second thing is integer k is equal to 0. This will initialize the k, right? It is going to initialize the k. Yes, of course, it's going to initialize the k. Now, yes, great, great. Now, pay attention. Another pain point that gets created in the program while writing the logic. Integer array, integer type of array, I'll call it as k and I'll say new int. I'll create array of size 2. Fine. And then I'll say k of 0 is equal to 1 and I'll say k of 1 is equal to 2. And now we can use a for loop and print it. So this is fine, right? This is fine. This works, right? Now I'll put a variable called as integer test and I'll initialize this test variable. Or we know that the class members do have a default value from the earlier sessions, right? So this test is of type integer. So it's going to have a default value of 0 in our case. Now what I'll do is I want to create two objects like I've created an integer array of size 2. In the same style, I want to create two objects. So I'll say first I need an array of type first object, or let's say array or ARR of objects is equal to new first, and I'll create array of size 2. And now I'll say ARR underscore obj of 0 dot test is equal to 1, and I'll repeat this line. I'll paste it and I'll say ARR underscore 1 of object dot test is equal to 2. Let's remove this println statement. We are not interested in printing. Fine. Let's have this line. Now let me remove this control X. It's going to compile or not? Whatever we have in the program, it's going to compile or not? Yes, no, quick answers. At least one answer I'm expecting in chat box. So it's going to compile, right? So no doubt. Now add this code on the similar grounds. It's going to compile? Yes, no, quick answers in the chat box. Yes, it's going to compile. It's the answer I'm getting. Sujata, Shubham, Parth, Prathamesh, Bhakti, Omkar, and Abhishek and Aditya. Many people have given the answer as yes. Any other answer? Any different answer? Anyone have a no as an answer? Okay, no one has a no as an answer. I'll go with no. I may be wrong. I will go with no as an answer. So what I'll do is I'll again think on this program. The program is still with you. I may be bluffing. I may be wrong. I may be just testing your confidence. I'll go with the answer as no. I will take another 5 seconds. If anybody wants to change the answer, you can post your answer in chat box. After 5 seconds I'll continue with the compilation. So let's take a pause of just 5 seconds, and if anybody wants to change the mind, put your answer in the chat box. And I may be bluffing. My answer is no, it's not going to compile. Okay, so we have one changed response. Divya is saying the objects are not initialized since no constructor is called. Okay, so again, so Divya is saying on the second line, so it will not compile. So Divya is giving some interesting answer. Okay, anybody wants to go with Divya, or still people are okay with yes as answer? I think test is garbage value. I guess Aditya, that's global value. Okay, fine. So test have some global value. Okay, fine. is the answer from Aditya Vellar. Okay, fine. So let's try. Why to guess? Let's try to compile. So we don't need object from the Aditya's answer. Test is a global value, and so we don't need object. That's a bit concern. So there is no concept of global in Java. There is nothing called as a global or what we can say variable throughout the program. Java is a strict OP. So the variables are going to be members of a class. So variable always have a class access. So there is no concept called as global access in Java. Fine. So that test variable is a member of a class, and this test variable can be accessed from other class members by either referring the class name, by referring the object dot variable name, or by referring something called as this. We are going to come to the keyword this very shortly. So let's try to compile Java C first dot Java. Have I saved this? Am I at the same point? Okay. And Java first. Yeah, so I should have done like this. Fine, let me concentrate on this code. Now here the catch that I forgot to add is the program compiled because syntaxes are fine, and there we have while execution we have an error called as null pointer exception. And if you could see the answer given by Divya in the chat box is objects are not initialized since no constructor is called. So what has happened is in this case we have these two lines are as good as, or this line single line is equivalent to writing first object is the first variable and first object, or let me call it as 1 and object 2. So I have only 5 minutes left. If the terminates, we will start with the same point in the next lecture. So these two lines are equivalent to these two lines which are creating the object are equivalent to this line. Now if I write obj1 dot test is equal to some value and obj2 dot test is equal to some value, from the in the earlier sessions we have discussed that this is not possible in Java. You have to compulsory initialize the object. And how do we initialize the object in Java? What we do is we write object1 is equal to new first. This is how we initialize the object. So we have to also initialize second object is equal to new first, and the second object is initialized. So we have to follow this strategy for the array also. Like array, we have created two variables, but we haven't initialized them. So we have to initialize these two variables. Now, what is the first variable? What is the first variable inside the array? ARR underscore object of 0 is equal to, let's initialize it, new first, call the constructor. What is the second variable in the array? ARR underscore object 1 is equal to new first. So now we have two variables. The two variables are initialized. The first variable is called as 0. The second variable is called as 1. The same style here we are doing it with the array. So these are three statements and the top four statements are doing the same thing. And now we are saying ARR of 0 dot test is equal to 1 and ARR object of 1 dot test is equal to 2. Now we will not see any exception in the program. So let me compile Java C first dot Java and I'll say Java first and let me hit enter. Anything wrong? New first object. Have I saved? Okay, so star mark. I haven't saved this program. Let me save this. Saved. Now let me recompile Java C first dot Java and now run Java first. And there will be no problem in the program. Now we can even output these two variables on the screen. Println ARR underscore object. Now which variable? 0 dot test. Now we know that the test is 0 dot test is initialized to 1, so we will expect 1 on the screen. So again recompile and Java first, and let's execute, and we see 1 on the screen. So this was the concept. What I did wrong is I asked you whether it will not compile or not. I should have asked whether it will run or not. I hope you the point is made clear that this was not initialized unless and until we are not putting this line, 2 lines on this. So if I remove this line, still we have an exception because the objects are not initialized. These statements are missing for the array. So you have to write these statements to make array initialize. You have to call the constructor against the array members. Is the concept clear, or there are some issues? If it is clear, we will proceed. Yes is the answer, apart from fine. Great. So you people got the concept that array was not initialized, and now we have initialized the array member. Now let's quickly move to another point. Now like it's reduce this code. Let me just, now I'm going to make use of another class. Let's say class second. Fine. Class second. I'm going to make use of this class, and let's put a constructor in the class second, and I'll call this constructor as in the constructor of the second class, I'll say system.out.println, and we'll say second is the only thing that we'll write inside this. And we'll have one more class. Let's call this class as third, and in this class we'll have another constructor, public third, and system.out.println. Here we are going to write it as third. Right now in C++, if you want to inherit, you would have done like this, right? Public and then second. Now second becomes a parent class, and